I don't know how many people remember this, but we do have these old units from the special map rotating pool that are 1-star and 2-star, respectively. And we haven't gotten any of those since launch, I believe. And I was curious as to why those were the only units that could become 1-star and 2-star. And from that, I figured, what if they added more of those? And I wanted to discuss today why I think it could be, it may not be the best, but it also may not be the worst idea in terms of cleaning up the pool a bit. I think if we were to get more of these, they should be able to clean up the gacha pool a bit more. I guess the first thing to consider is how would they distribute these? Because they could always add them into the pool and then make them summonable. But then how would they determine who gets to be a 1-star and a 2-star? Is it worth even keeping them as a 1-star and 2-star because of the fact that you're summoning for them? Or perhaps they can make them into like a special gacha sort of thing where they do with the old 5-stars and make them 4-star sparkable. Or not sparkable, but they could make them summonable at 4-star and they turn into 5-stars. Perhaps a different pity rate, for example, would be a good idea if they were to have it happen. I know from playing the game a lot, trying to get a specific 4-star is a big pain because of the fact that there's so many 4-stars in the pool. So if they were to clean it up, for example, by having a special 1-star, 2-star pool, and then let's say once you summon them, you have the option of making them 3-star, 4-star, so at least it doesn't seem like a waste of orbs. That could be kind of cool. Albeit, I don't know if that's going to make summoning even worse, because you have more pities, you have more special summons or whatever. It may even make it harder to summon specific units, because I'm not entirely sure how, I don't know how the percentage of the gacha system works per se, because it's full of junk, basically. So like if you were to try and snipe maybe a Latzlo, for example, but you kept getting crons, well, I don't know the percentage for that. There's so many 4-stars in the game right now that it's really hard to snipe the unit that you really want. And I think if they were to add maybe 1-stars and 2-stars to the pool, they could probably figure something else. Although I don't know how much that will help depending on the pity rate they give it. For example, because they're only working on 100%, where would they take the extra, let's say 5%? Where would they get that from? Because they have to get it from somewhere. Do they take it out of the 4-star summons? Do they take it out of the 3-star summons? Do they take it out of both? It's hard to say. Likewise, I don't know if this will actually help, because if they demote a bunch, then it could be easily as cluttered. In fact, it could also be harder to get if they are locked to the 5-star, or let's just say 5%. It could probably be even harder to get. Which is why option number 2 could always be considered in they make more maps. Although, that becomes another question. Which units do they make maps for? How many maps should they make? What's the rotation on it? I do know that 1-stars and 2-stars aren't particularly helpful in any way, because generally speaking they have way less stats and less to work with, and they aren't really worth much in terms of feathers, but it's interesting nonetheless. I do think that if they were going to do it, they could probably do it through some sort of weekly, monthly rotation sort of thing, where it's like every month they put out a new 7 or 8 of the 1-stars and 2-stars. Because I do know if you're trying, like a lot of people who try to build 4-star merge projects aren't always going to get the units they want unless they keep sniping that color over and over and over again, because it's going to take a lot, it may take a lot of summons, it may take no summons, but the truth of the matter is that there's so many 4-stars and 3-stars in the game that trying to get a specific one is just really difficult, even if the rate is high. I will say though, I do think adding more of those maps would be kind of nice, because we still have the old ones, and granted they aren't really for the best units anyway, but you can still promote like a few of them and then build them up, and it saves you orbs on a chance at getting them. Although they could always try an alternative. I don't know how many people remember this banner, or I don't know how many people remember this series of banners, but we used to have these 4-star special focus banners where there were 12 4-stars on the banner and the rate was much higher. But you could only, I'm pretty sure you can only get 3, like one of the 3 on the banner. So like if you had a Roy, Soleil, a Laszlo, for example, you can only summon for one of those 3. But the rate to get them was much better. And I kind of wish they brought those back, because all of us would like the ability to summon for specific 4 stars more often, so that we could build merge projects. And I'm not really sure why they got rid of them. Maybe they weren't that popular. But I do think that they were a good alternative for getting specific 4 stars that people wanted. Although now I don't know how many people are going to summon for those, because we have way better banners that we could summon on. But I still think it was an option nonetheless. I guess the other thing too is that we still have the ephemera stuff, where we could summon a bunch of 4 stars or 5 stars depending on what they have on the rotation. And granted, that's still a very good option. However, I think it depends on the month, because more often than not, a lot of the 5 stars are worth the summon. So I would say that maybe it would be better if we got at least more of it. I don't know if we need more per se, but if we end up with more months, like this month with like Bride Sigrun and Ishtar, and then a bunch of 4 stars, I think it would be relatively interesting if we got more, so we get more 4 stars, for example, in there, and then we are able to get more ephemera. Granted, I don't know if we really need more per se, because we do get a healthy selection of 4 stars and 5 stars in there a lot of the time. So maybe that's just me being greedy. But I think from experience, most of the time, you're generally taking the 5 stars, and then you're also taking the Tempest Trial unit, which can be a whole discussion on its own. But I do think that maybe it's worth considering if they do want to make specific 4 stars easier to get. Although, to be fair, they are putting on a bunch of 4 stars that we could still snag anyway. It's just that we don't have the ability to get every unit, which isn't the worst. I think it's still pretty good anyway, because we do, as long as you play the game, you do get enough to work with. Although, if they were to focus on, let's say, another type of ephemera, and it was only specific 4 stars and 3 stars, then maybe that'd be kind of cool, but I think at that point it's just going to be a whole nother complicated sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. But in any case, I do think that maybe IS should consider some form of making 3 stars and 4 stars easier to get, or specific ones, not all of them. Whether that's more maps, banners, changing in a pity rate, etc., etc. I think it's definitely worth consideration. But yeah, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below. And until then, I'll see you later.